Hi, it's Joanna, creator of the Teacher Wellness Code. Did you know that teaching has been a hotbed of burnout since the 1800s? It's true, it has. Teacher stress and burnout has been documented since the 1800s, since the advent of public education. So if you're stressed and burning out, don't feel bad. It's not you. It's certainly not just you, and it's not a recent phenomenon. It's been happening since the beginning of public education. So why is that? Public education was created with a very specific ethos in mind. One of the main influential thinkers in the 1800s when public education was being formed was a woman named Catherine Beecher. And she truly believed that the role of a teacher was that of the good daughter. So it was a very patriarchally oriented definition of good womanhood at that point in time in history. So the good daughter was obedient. She sacrificed herself. It was complete devotion to her charges, or her students at that time, and so total self-abnegation, and that was considered a very proper expression of what it meant to be a good teacher, what it meant to be a good woman, and then by extension what it meant to be a good teacher. And this became sort of the standard of what teachers were supposed to live up to. And during that time, when they did do research at that time, interviewing teachers, and there were notes of teachers' journals and teachers' diaries. And there was already at that time teachers feeling extreme stress and emotional stress, blaming themselves for things that their students were doing that they couldn't control, behavioral issues, family issues. Basically the same things we all deal with as teachers in the era that we're living in now. The question we have to ask ourselves, because that ideal of the good daughter ideal, that was something born out of a very specific time in history. And now it's like 200 years later, and we have to ask ourselves, is that still an appropriate expression of how to be a teacher? So how can we change our expression of care to not be an extension of that patriarchal notion of good womanhood that gets translated into good teaching? And I think it's really important to look at those things. Of course, we don't live in the 1800s. We don't live in the same era. Women don't have the same kinds of restrictions. And when I say women, I'm actually not excluding men. It's that teaching is a very female-dominated profession, so that even if you are a male in the profession, these kinds of ideas of ideal femininity will be projected on you. The expectation itself is gendered. So one question we can ask ourselves is, are we still embodying the teaching ethos of the 1800s in the year 2000s? Now, we may not think that we are, because obviously our lives are very different from how they were back then. Obviously it's not the same era, but sometimes remnants of those types of expectations just become a part of what the expectation is on how we should be teaching. And I think that is one of the examples of how the culture of teaching embodies a type of toxicity that sets teachers up to burnout. And I think that if we want to come out of our own burnout, we really need to have some awareness around when we're embodying that, how we're embodying that, and how to change it. Because ultimately, if we want to step out of stress and burnout, we can't expect anyone to do it for us except us ourselves. So bringing some awareness to the issues and then shifting them where we can.